Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
We're back.
So, guys, I wanted to just give you an idea of different yoga practices because yoga is really, it's one big, huge umbrella term. By definition, it means to yoke or to join. You could also look at it as to bring the mind, body, and spirit together in a harmonious state. And so, I'm just looking at Cindy right now, and she's like glowing with this amazing energy, and because we've just gotten done with a practice. And so, I was just telling her, I said, boy, you look like you're glowing. You actually look younger than like before we started our practice.
You're so sweet.
And then she's just blushing now. It's amazing, the transformative power of the mind, because really the mind is what creates our reality all around us. It's what we feed it that ends up influencing what we become.
Feed it in literal ways too, I feel.
Yeah, both. Yeah, feed it, what you put into your mouth as well as what you put into your mind and how you breathe, because breathing is so important. Breathing is not only the act of taking in oxygen, you're also taking in the life force. And when you breathe consciously, knowing and focusing on taking in the life force into your body, charging your body with light and with prana, ki, chi, vril, it just transforms one.
Yes, it's very important.
So when you say yoga, most people automatically will probably think of Hatha yoga. And so what is Hatha yoga? Well, it's the overarching umbrella of yoga that encompasses most of the traditional styles, geared towards, Hatha health, And really, originally, yoga came about so that you could meditate more and have a stronger, healthier body and be able to hold a meditative position for a longer period of time without discomfort. Also, as a way of actually ringing the internal organs through different postures, because each posture will basically affect the different organ and help it cleanse itself from toxins.
And this is very good for mind and body.
Now, in Hatha yoga itself, there are many different types. So, Hatha is physical yoga that's meant for health. And so you have Ashtanga, you have Vinyasa, Iyengar, and Power Yoga. They're all Hatha, forms of Hatha yoga. And on the Hatha path, I just wanted to share two teachers, people that I thought, that I found to be really, really good. And that's Shiva Riya, who is a very well-known instructor and truly amazing and full of life and passion, I would say. I mean, she's just enjoying every single moment of life, fully embracing it. It's amazing how Hatha yoga can really affect our health in such a positive way, but not just our health, our mind as well, because when we have a body that is not healthy, not full of vitality, not full of life, it's hard to be in a good place mentally, and then that also can affect us spiritually.
It can, very much so.
And as we get older, especially in Taoist philosophy, it's so important to maintain the flexibility of a baby. And when we're born, we're like 75-80% water. As we age, we dry out. Literally dry out. We're less and less water, typically. So the focus is on maintaining flexibility. Of course, you want to maintain strength as well, functional strength. Balance, too. As we get older, balance becomes an issue. We tend to get stiffer again, and some people that are seniors, they might be going from 75-80% water as a baby all the way down to in the 55-60% water. And so obviously we're going to get stiff, and then just think about it, when the physical body dies and the life force departs, rigor mortis sets in and we are stiff as a board.
Makes sense to me.
And then eventually the only thing that's left is the bones.
Yep.
And obviously those are stiff.
Very.
Yes. So flexibility is key, and as well as maintaining strength, and you can do that with Hatha yoga. Some forms are more challenging than others, like vinyasa and power yoga. And, there's just so many different forms out there. Another great, great teacher is Baron Baptiste. And, I practiced under both of them for decades ago, actually. These are two exceptional teachers, in my opinion. So I have both of their links there, so you could look into some of their stuff. There's videos that they have, obviously, on YouTube that you could follow along. And exceptional people leading exceptionally healthy lives.
Yeah, they're really, really good.
Which leads to more mental clarity and also leads to a higher sense of spirituality.
And who doesn't want that?
Exactly. It's recognized. So this is all recognized in the yogic system. Then we have Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakti, it comes from the root word bhaj, which means to adore or worship God. So Bhakti Yoga is basically the yoga of devotion.
That's beautiful.
And there's many ways we could do this. And this is something that, if you asked me as a young man, I would have never thought I would be into. But yet I think it's affected me more than any of the other yogas. And, going to kirtans, which I've shared with you guys, became one of my favorite things to do because it was just so incredibly uplifting. And basically, how do you do it? Well, you could do it in a lot of different ways. You could do it through mantras, and you could do it through music. You could do it through singing. You could do it in so many different ways. You could do it by practices like puja. Puja is basically offerings, so it's just a matter of living a life where you're constantly bringing your attention back to the higher powers.
Well, it's really nice that there's so many different ways to come to something so beautiful and heartfelt.
And, I would say that now Cindy and I are on a really good, steady routine spiritually. So as I've shared with you guys before, we tend to do every day, we do some form of yoga. We do Qigong, which is Chinese for energy work. And that's basically circulating, building, and guiding the life force through a series of postures and movements, as well as still standing meditation, which is called Zhang. And then we do, without fail, mantras. And they're ever increasing for me. I just keep finding new mantras and exploring them. And then Cindy, gives feedback too on what she feels, because each one is unique.
Yeah, each one sends off a different vibration, a different frequency, so I can see changes in your body.
Yeah, she could actually see the energetic changes. And I got done with a practice today, and I don't know, I would venture to guess we were doing it for about an hour, right? Of an hour of verbal mantras, and I probably went through, I don't know, maybe 20 rounds of 108. So we're talking, over 2,000, maybe 2,500 repetitions, which, what does it do? Well, it shuts your mind off. Now, everybody is different, and I'm going to get into looking at the gunas, which some of you might be familiar with that terms. We each are, basically have our own constitution energetically. And if you've studied Ayurveda, you understand it. And each one of us will have different practices that will affect us a little more powerfully than others. So like with Cindy, she only needs she needs maybe to go through 4 repetitions typically of 108, and she's off. She's just in the in-between and, getting downloads galore.
Yeah, I call it the in-between because it's a place that you don't even really know that you're there until you come out of it.
And it's blissful. And for me, I need more repetitions. I need to lose myself in repeating, that one thing, completely lose myself. And then things happen. Like I could feel the Kundalini stirring, going all the way up my spine. There were spots that it was odd enough. It was spots that felt on fire today, especially on the skin, which was a weird thing to feel. And then I was just flooded with golden light. Everything was getting just so brilliantly golden and bright. And there was this overwhelming feeling of peace. And then it turned into kind of a ecstatic feeling of love. And then I felt a whoosh. And, all my chakras have been open for a long time, but it doesn't mean that they can't get more and more open and hold more and more energy. And so something happened in the heart chakra, and I asked Cindy to look at it afterwards because it was powerful. And she said that chakras sort of looked like they were taking on a diamond form.
Yeah, they all moved to take on a diamond form, and then I could see the circles of radiating frequency coming from the chakras. It looked like kind of if you put drop a rock in a pond and you see those ripples rippling out. That's what I could see in white light form.
Yeah, there was most definitely a major expansion of consciousness and a change in the energy body that I hadn't experienced before. So we're always going through new and new discoveries, new and new changes. And so, bhakti is super powerful. Don't ever underestimate the power of bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga is the yoga of a personal relationship with God. Now that sounds like if you take out the bhakti and the yoga, talking about a personal relationship with God, we might be giving a Christian sermon.
Right.
This is the point. See, we are, unfortunately, we've been so divided by the thought that there can only be one way, and there's not. Bhakti is a wonderful way that works for people in all traditions. And many people probably have not even realized that they are practicing bhakti yoga, meanwhile being a Christian, for instance, or a devout Muslim, or perhaps a devout Jew. It doesn't really matter. At the heart of bhakti is surrender. It's surrendering to the love, the divine love that is just dying to get in contact with us and is dying to lift us up into all new realms.
Yes. Yep.
And bhakti is, by the way, thought to be perhaps the easiest way, or one of the easiest ways to achieve yoga, union with the divine. So bhakti is amazing. And as I was saying, many, for instance, people that you wouldn't think are bhakti yogists, in reality, they are practicing bhakti yoga. And there's 10 influential saints in the Christian tradition, like St. Patrick, St. Francis of Assisi, just for instance, who's very well known. And, again, when we identify with divinity, when we identify with that which makes us feel just pure love and pure bliss. So for St. Francis, it's Christ. And so many of these Christian saints end up having stigmata because they resonate so much with Christ and the passion of Christ and the sacrifice that they end up manifesting the wounds of Christ.
Yeah, and the deeper you get into energy and frequency, you can understand how they can resonate that.
Saint Valentine, Saint Christopher, Saint Bernadette, Saint Anthony, just to name a few. So in reality, and you could practice in any way. So whether you're holding mala beads, or whether you're holding rosary beads and you're going through different prayers and devotion, whether you're sending your prayers to Jesus, to Mary, to one of the saints, just to God in general, source, or if you're giving it to Krishna, or if you're giving it to Shiva or to Lakshmi, again, it's just that thing that you resonate with. What resonates with you on the inside? Because each one of us is a different individuated jiva, according to the Hindu tradition, which is basically we're all eternal souls. We're all part of Source. We're all part of God. And it's just basically finding that resonates with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and embracing that and exploring that's what we're here to do.
And then just sending the love out. When you send the love out, the love will come back.
Absolutely.
Yes. So it's cultivating that peace and love and compassion. And this is Yogananda, and Yogananda taught Kriya Yoga. And Kriya Yoga is an ancient meditation technique of energy and breath control, pranayama. It's part of a comprehensive spiritual path which includes additional meditation practices along with right living. And right living encompasses a lot of things, from keeping our minds focused and pure, not allowing ourselves to be lowered, into negative emotions, keeping on that high path, that high road. Not that we can't have moments of anger or irritation. We are human after all. But it's just constantly pulling yourself back, noticing it, pulling yourself back, knowing when you're going down in vibration, and then saying, oh, I got to stop this. And then by focusing on something, and if we're doing it bhakti way, say by focusing on Christ or focusing on Krishna or focusing on, whoever, we start to absorb their energies. We start to think, well, what would Jesus do, right? As that saying goes, or what would Krishna do? And that'll help pull us up out of, the negative emotions.
Yeah, that's why finding your own personal belief system is very helpful when you explore something like this.
So, I'll get you guys all the links, and like here, there's a free introduction to Kriya Yoga. And by the way, in this tradition, it is thought. And Yogananda learned from Sri Yukteswara, who learned from Lahiri, his guru Lahiri Maharasaya, who supposedly learned from Babaji, who is an immortal, who is still, some say still walking the planet, still on the planet. And Babaji is thought to be the teacher of Christ in some traditions as well, and Christ Jesus. Then we have Raja Yoga, which is royal yoga, and Raja means king. A king acts with independence, self-confidence, and assurance. Likewise, a Raja Yogi is autonomous, independent, and fearless. Raja Yoga is the path of self-discipline and practice. And Raja Yoga is also known as Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 steps of yoga, because it is organized in 8 parts. And when you study Buddhism, honestly, I studied Buddhism way more and much earlier in my life than I studied Hinduism. So then I came to study Hinduism, and I realized, wow, okay, well, Buddhism clearly comes out of Hinduism, because we have the Eightfold Path in both. And, Buddha was born a Hindu, so.
Yeah, it's very curious stuff.
It is, and yet there are a myriads of forms of Hinduism. Just as there's 30,000 denominations in Christianity, there's as many of those in Hinduism as well. There's so many different paths. And everybody, being a unique person, has a right to a unique path. Nobody should tell you that there's only one path. That basically is just exerting control and domination over others. So you can see, we'll just touch on this. Yama, self-control. Niyama, which is discipline. Asana, physical exercises. Pranayama, breath exercises. Pratyahara, which is withdrawal of all senses from external objects. That's when it starts to get a little bit harder. Dharana, which is concentration. Dhyana, which is meditation. And Samadhi, which is the complete realization. So a very structured, very organized way at approaching things.
Yes, and it's beautiful too.
So I just want to encourage everybody to explore whatever feels good to you. And you might choose to do 2-3 different types of yoga. That's basically what we do. As we do Hatha on a regular basis, and we also do Bhakti on a regular basis as well, but we incorporate pranayama and other aspects, mindful meditation as well. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
And it's so important for this day and age when we're all trying to find our center.
This is key. This is so key. Because without constantly going back and finding your center, rooting and grounding yourself, you can get lost and caught up in somebody else's reality, in somebody else's fear, and, lose our own self-control.
Yeah, it can get pretty hectic and chaotic if we don't have some type of internal practice that brings us peace.
So as always, guys, thank you for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste.